this one, but the odds of this happening are right around Haley's Comet showing up a couple times a year. It's just, in this state, it's not going to happen, Carl.
No, actually, quite the contrary. When you look at the polling, Paul, Democrats support voter ID by a majority margin. Independents by a 70% margin, obviously Republicans by a 85% margin, and even Latinos and African Americans by majority margins agree with voter ID. The only demographic we found that don't like voter ID, liberal media and politicians, the Democrats.
Let me interrupt you. If that's the case, then why isn't there voter ID?
Well, first, there is voter ID in nearly 30 states in the country. So let's start there, that other states actually have done this, and it's common sense. But secondly, it's because there are no special interests that want voter ID. The business community doesn't care because it doesn't impact their bottom line. And so you don't have a lot of business groups or lobbyists saying, ooh, let me go bankroll a campaign to get signatures and to then pass a voter ID initiative. And then, of course, the unions don't want it because they're backing Democrats. And unfortunately, the California Republican Party, it is a dumpster fire of dysfunction. Right. It can't find its way out of a paper bag. So our challenge is going to be getting the 1 million signatures necessary to put this on the ballot. We filed the initiative yesterday, and this is on the heels of me filing an initiative 2 years ago where the Attorney General basically said, I'll give you title and summary, but your initiative is illegal. It doesn't comply with federal law, and so we're going to challenge it before it even gets on the ballot. We won't even let people vote on it. And we looked at his legal theories. Our lawyers then redrafted and tightened up just to make sure that this initiative that we filed yesterday has absolutely no ability for the Attorney General to try to thwart it in court. Oh, he'll try, but it is grounded in decades of Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court case law that has validated the concept of voter ID. And then on top of that, we would have to not only get the 1 million signatures, but get it passed. The Attorney General probably will give us a bad ballot title, not insurmountable, but to your point, this is no cakewalk. This is going to take a real grassroots rebellion to get this done.
Because here, I mean, you get hit over the head with this argument. You're trying to suppress the minority vote, you evil Republican. Not everyone can afford all the rich stuff that you can afford. They can't get the ID, and that consequently, you're going to eliminate them from the political process. You evil man. How are you? Answer that.
I know. When we started going to ID required to fly a plane, all those arguments were made, right? Oh, wait, they weren't made because they're absurd. The Supreme Court has already vetted those arguments and has resoundingly rejected them. And in fact, African American and Latino voters actually have rejected that argument as well because a majority of both of those demographics support voter ID. Again, the only people who don't want voter ID are the incumbent politicians. And I wonder why. This is so simple. I think a lot of Californians, certainly a lot of Americans, are sick and tired of the debate about election integrity and the conspiracy theories. Why don't we just end that debate by moving to voter ID? One vote, one person, verified. And that's what my initiative does. I think it is simple, it's straightforward, and I think it will restore most of the election integrity issues that we have problems with.
It works, though, if people are showing up at the polling place and they have, back in the day when I first started voting, you had to show your ID before you could walk it behind the curtain. But now in this era of mail-in voting, how do you square that circle? How is it applicable?
That is a great question, Paul, because we know that 90% of voters now return their ballot through vote by mail. And either they walk it into the polling station or they mail it in or drop it off at a drop box. So what we do on that is quite simple. We require that when you mail back your ballot, you must include the last 3 digits of your driver's license. And we strengthen the requirements for signature verification, that your signature has to match. Those 2 things are important because then it will provide that voter verification. Now, you might say, well, people could find someone's driver's license. Look, ballot harvesting means that they can find the ballot, but it's really hard to find someone's ballot and find their driver's license, match the license to the ballot, and then of course get at least a reasonably similar signature. And so what we're trying to do is raise the bar to prevent voter fraud. We also, Paul, deal with the big issue of orphan ballots. You and I have talked about this every election. It's where the registrar of voters mails out ballots to an outdated voter list because they don't maintain the voter list. And then suddenly a bunch of ballots are arriving at people's homes and people are saying, who the hell is this person? Or, oh, this is for my grandson. He moved away 10 years ago to Montana. What we require is that if the county registrar of voters office obtains information, and we require that they do regular searches through databases to maintain their list, that someone has moved, they are not allowed to automatically mail a vote by mail ballot to that person come election. They have to verify that the person wants the ballot, or they have to wait for the person to request. So we've included in this initiative a number of reforms that are common sense, that are all about making sure we do elections right, that only people who are registered citizens with verification of identity who still live in the state of California at their address, only they can vote in the election, and that there's oversight. And I'm proud of the work that the legal team has done. And I think that we need to have bipartisan support to move this forward. The problem is, while we wait for title and summary in the next 45 days, we have to build the coalition and recruit volunteers and raise the money to do a signature drive to get 1 million signatures by April 25th. And so I'm asking people to join the fight at electionintegrityinitiative.com, electionintegrityinitiative.com. One last thing, I have timed the filing of this initiative, Paul, to basically be bundled in with other initiatives that maybe other statewide business groups are going to be backing. August, leading up to an election, is the time when a bunch of initiatives are filed by a variety of interests. And voter ID is immensely popular. We're hoping to piggyback on some of those other signature drives. So there's a reason why August 15th was the date we chose to file. It is timed to at least get the initiative ready to be paired up with some of those other efforts that are funded. All
right, Carl, we're out of time, but of all your issues, I think this is the most important one. So we're going to call this part one of the conversation, because I still have things I want to bring up in part two, which I hope is next week or sooner.
We're happy to continue the conversation, Paul. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thanks for watching. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.